How's everybody doing today? This is the Wednesday weekly learning session for local bartending school. My name is Carlos Navia. I'm an instructor here every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I have been a full-service bartender now for 20 plus years in Arizona, Florida, California, Alabama, Tennessee. I even ran a bar in Mexico for a while, which is where I met my wife, who lives with me here in San Luis Obispo, California. So I do one-on-ones with people over Zoom. You might also recognize me from some of the videos in our online course that I shot out here on the central coast of California. So we usually come up with a new topic every week. I've been going through some different stuff and talking about summer cocktails and stuff that's good for this time of the year. But I always think it's important to kind of go back sometimes and talk about the basics and sort of the basic things of what we do. You know, it's something that's done in sports. I was an athlete many moons ago, but even though you've played a game for 10 years or 15 years, doesn't mean you don't have to practice some basic things, basic parts, basic concepts of the game, and basic drills, to make sure that you are not forgetting the basics and you are performing to your optimal potential on that. So I want to talk a little bit just about pouring our shots, our count, and some mixing techniques that we use here in the bar. So I'm going to grab a couple bottles here. Now, these have just regular colored water in them. I didn't really make them the color of anything specific, just a couple colors so that it shows up better and it's easier to kind of see here in my little bar setup. So first thing I'm going to talk about is just pouring our shots and making sure that we're pouring the right amounts. So I have here my jigger. Now, all jiggers are going to have some numbers on them printed on the outside, which is going to let you know how big your jigger is. So I went to get this at the restaurant supply store. I probably saw 6 or 7 different sizes of jiggers that they were using, or that they were selling, I should say. So know that they're all different. They all have different sizes on either side of it. And it's very important for us to know what we're working with so that we know when we're practicing, we're pouring the right amounts and we're getting the right count, we're getting the count down. So I know this one very well. This one has 1 ounce on one side. It has 1.5 ounce on the other side. Also in the kits, I know that are going out to the students here lately, you've also been getting a glass that has some marks on it, that has measuring lines on it. That is a great practice glass as well, because it has some different amounts on it. And when we kind of get into our exercises and coming back to check ourselves, that's a great glass to check how accurate you are hitting different amounts, because it has the different lines on it. So when I go to start out, now I have my handy dandy pour spout here. And that's Monty. Let someone in real quick. I have my handy dandy pour spout here. Honestly, these rubber pour spouts are as good as any pour spouts I've ever worked with in the business. I actually have one of these too. These are the kind that John Taffer actually gives away on his show Bar Rescue. They're fine too. I'm not a big fan of them. What happens with this style of a pour spout is if you put it through the dishwasher, it comes apart in the middle. And you end up losing this little stick that has to aerate it. And so sometimes I don't like using those because they do fall apart. But we've got our rubber ones here. Now, I was taught to hold the bottle in a very specific way, which is the big hole is aiming the direction that I want to pour. That I put my hand, I aim my first finger the direction the hole is going, and I grab it like that, and I use my first finger to guide the bottle. The theory is that you're using that first finger to guide the bottle the same way you use it to guide a pen or a pencil when you're writing, or chopsticks if you were eating oriental food. But when it really comes down to it, we can't hold every bottle that way, because not every bottle has a neck on it. And when we get into a bottle like this that doesn't really have much of a neck, I can't quite grab it in the same fashion. I'm going to end up grabbing it by the bottle, by the base, or by the fat part of the bottle. When we get to something like Crown Royal, that doesn't have a neck at all. You just have to grab the butt of the bottle and pour with it. So if you're not comfortable grabbing it like this around the neck, no worries. It is very much about you being comfortable. And let me let a few more people in here. It is very much about you being comfortable and, hitting the right amount. So even if you're not holding the bottle just like that, but you're still hitting the right amount, that's fine. That is the most important thing. We want to make sure that we're hitting the right amounts. Number one, we don't want to over pour. we're costing our boss money, by putting too much alcohol, by putting more in than the people pay for. At the same time, we're not trying to underpour anybody because it is a legitimate business. We want to give the people what we paid for. We're not trying to videos here. Okay. We're not trying to short them or underpour them for any reason. It's a legitimate business. We want to get them what they paid for. So hold the bottle like this, hold the bottle like this, hold the bottle however you're comfortable. That is the biggest thing. What we want to practice on is making sure that our 4 count is exactly 1 ounce. Now, the reason we do a 4 count in the bar is because it is easy to break up once we get a 4 count. So I know that if my 4 count is exactly 1 ounce, that a 1 count's 1/4 of an ounce, a 2 count's 2/4, 3 is 3/4 of an ounce, 4 is 1 ounce, 5 is 1.25 ounces, 6 is 1.5 ounces, which for most places is about the standard pour. 1.25 ounces or 1.5 ounces. Now, I have worked at places where the standard pour is lower than that. It is only 1 ounce. They use a small glass like this, so you still taste the liquor. The idea being, family type restaurants, and sort of the idea being, we don't mind if you have a drink while you're here with your family, but we're not here to get you drunk. So we're not trying to give you too much alcohol, in your drink. It's a family type place. The country club I worked at here, it's exactly the opposite. It's a 2 ounce pour. It's a private club. The members technically own it. They are going out to play golf, get them as drunk as they want to get. The country club has its own Uber account. If any member gets a little too drunk, you just put them in an Uber back to their house. Their addresses are all on the computer, and that Uber charge will show up on their membership account, and they'll be charged for it that way. So, it's a completely different dynamic, and that's why we poured twice as much for most drinks there. For the purposes of this class, I usually do 1.5 ounces. That's a pretty good standard pour, across the board in most places. But as we practice still, we want to work on getting that ounce so that we get that ounce into the perfect 4 count. So I'm going to grab my jigger here. I'm going to grab my bottle. I've seen different people talk about different techniques and different ways to come about approaching it. People kind of come by the side or try to sneak up on it. Honestly, you just want to open it up. Turn this butt of the bottle all the way up in the air, and I'm going to count out loud when I practice. 1, 2, 3, 4, snap it back down. Now, did I splash a little bit? Yes. And if we didn't splash, then the people that make these would be out of business. There is a whole industry based on the fact that bartenders are going to splash a little, bartenders are going to spill a little. Now, I'm going to throw this one out there because I think it's kind of funny. At the end of the night, you will end up with some stuff here in your mat. And you can take it and you can run it down and you can pour it into a shot glass like that at the end of the night. It, in all honesty, it is disgusting, number one, but less because it's so many things mixed that it tastes nasty or it's disgusting or it's too strong because it's a lot of alcohol. What ends up happening is, besides alcohol, you spill a lot of juice. You spill ice on here, it turns into water. You spill soda on there. You spill everything on there. In reality, it's not that strong a shot. It does, however, it doesn't taste great. If you've ever done the mat shot or given someone the mat shot, it is disgusting, moreover, because I don't think that people wash the mats enough. So if you're willing to take the mat shot or give that to somebody, realize that if these things aren't washed properly, you're growing a lot of bacteria in there. It does become very nasty and disgusting. Besides the mat shot, where I'm from, it has a very specific name. We call it an LA freeway because it tastes about like what something you picked up off the side of an LA freeway would taste like. So if you ever want to give someone the mat shot at the end of the night, I used to give it to employees for fun. It's not really strong. It's, something just popped up on the computer. Okay. It's not really strong. It's not really going to get anybody messed up. If anything, it's kind of disgusting for the reasons I just mentioned. So I'm going to throw this out. I'm outside where I can throw stuff on the ground. We keep practicing. We're trying to get the 4 count down, the 4 count down. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm pretty close on that one. I'm still splashing a little. Once we get comfortable with that, we want to put it into a glass, see what it looks like in our glass, and then we work on going straight into the glass itself. 1, 2, 3, 4, pop it back down. Now, The key is when you're practicing, that when you're going into the open glass, make sure you're coming back and checking yourself. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to pour it in, I'm going to see how accurate I am, and I'm pretty darn close. Maybe a drop over, but pretty darn close, you know. It is not a perfect science. It is an art like cooking, but you want to be as accurate as you can. You know, once again, you're not trying to give away liquor, you're not trying to over pour. The other thing is when we get into making recipes, we want to make sure that we're putting the right amount of each liquor in so that we can balance the flavors correctly. If we're just putting too much of this or random amounts of this, you don't get the right flavor balance, you don't get the right flavor combination. So we go back and forth into the cup, checking ourselves, back into here until we get very comfortable. Another drill to work on, and I do suggest if it's at all possible, if you have a bar close to your house or you know someone that works in a bar, try to get some real bar bottles. You know, I went to a bar I used to work for, a place I talked about a lot here, the Madonna Inn. I went over there the other night when I had some free time, talked to the bar manager, Jimmy, and a couple of guys there, picked up some empty bottles they had so I could practice at home. You know, if they ask you what you're doing with them, tell them the truth. You're practicing. Just like I told them the other day. It does help, I feel, to have the real liquor bottles, if at all possible, because of the weight. You know, it's going to feel a little different. And I don't recommend using bottles that most people have at their home, because most people in their home buy a 750 milliliter, a fifth that they take home. In the bar, we use 1 liter bottles. So we use the bigger bottles because it has 33% more liquor in it, and we don't have to change bottles out as fast because we're holding more liquor. So getting real 1 liter liquor bottles is nice to practice with if you have it available. I always say get 2 because we're going to practice with both hands. If I can make drinks with both hands, I can make twice as many drinks. I can make twice as many money. I can make twice as much money, I should say. That's as simple as it is. Let me get some juice. I'm on about 6 or 7 hours of this today, so my voice is getting a little scratchy. But we're hoping it can hold out for another 30 minutes. So next thing to work on as we go down here, going glass to glass. You know, once again, it is about being as efficient you can, as efficient as you can, being as fast as you can. You know, you don't want to keep people waiting. Number one, you're going to get better tips if people don't have to wait. Number two, the more drinks I make, the more money I make. It's one of the coolest things about this industry, and one of the reasons I love it too, is that the more money I make for myself, the more money I make for my boss. It is a win-win. I expect to make 20% off my sales. How my sales are, higher my tips are going to be at the end of the day. At the same time, the more I can sell for my boss, the more my boss loves me. So it is a win-win. The faster you're making drinks, the more you're selling for him or her, you know, the more you're making for yourself. So if I have 3 drinks with vodka, I grab my vodka bottle one time, I hit them all 3 in line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, snap it back down. But I always come back and check myself and see how close I am. So I have my one outside here. I'm going to give it a little try. Bam, I am right on the money with that one. Now, lately, guy number 2 has been getting over poured for me. So we're going to see how patron number 2, right on the money with that one too. And let's see how patron number 3 turned out. A little over on patron number 3. I got a level heavy with them. So if it's a little over, we always say that's one for the customer. If it's a little under, that's one for the house. House made a couple extra pennies on that one. It is one of the most important things, just to know you're putting the right amount in every drink. It's kind of a misconception that everybody wants a super strong drink and a super heavy pour, when that's not really the way it goes. Most people want the drink with the proper balance and the proper flavor. I will say this to you. I have gone to a job interview where I was pour tested in the job interview. So, you know, they make a thing that looks like test tubes, and it's got a bunch of little test tubes in it. They give you a bottle of water. You have to hit the test tube and you have to hit the mark. And I will mention the place too. It was Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville. If anyone ever, they open a Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville near your town, expect them to pour test you in the interview. I did it perfect. I did it great. I did not get a job there. That has to do with my roommate. That is another story. I am not going to bring that up live today. Bless his heart. Still love him. But, you know, it was something they wanted to know on the initial interview. You can either hit the mark or you can't hit the mark. So it is something super important, and it is something to practice. The other thing to kind of work on, and once again, I'm not using the proper glassware for the drinks I'm kind of mentioning because I'm just practicing here. I'm not doing anything real, but practice different amounts as well. So if I wanted to put, and once again, these wouldn't be the right glassware, but if this was a vodka tonic and this was a vodka soda and this was a Long Island iced tea, I want to do a full shot here, ounce and a half. I want to do a full shot here, ounce and a half, but I only need a half ounce here to make my Long Island iced tea. Still, I touch my vodka bottle one time. I do it all in one pour. I hit everything that needs vodka for that round of drinks that I'm making. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. And snap it off there. You can see it kind of chugged on me on that first one. Sometimes that happens. As good as any of the pour spouts are, in reality, the lower your bottle gets, the worse they work. Something to do with the airflow ratio. I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to try to explain that because I honestly don't know. But the big thing, I always come back, I always check myself. I now have my ounce and a half side here. I'm going to pour it in there and bam, I'm right on my ounce and a half. Let's see if guy number two, bam, I'm right on my ounce and a half there for guy number 2. And this one's just going to be a half of this one. And there's a mark in there, but you can't see it, but that's a half ounce there. So know that you can hit different amounts. Also know that you can hit different amounts with both hands. And let me get 2 glasses here. So, if I'm going to make 2 margaritas here, and I know it would be matching glasses, it would not be the same glasses. But if this is my tequila and this is my triple sec, I'm going to do an ounce and a half of tequila, but I'm only going to do a half ounce of triple sec. Still, I do it at the same time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, my Seagram's bottle is not cooperating. Top it off just a little. But this should be 2 ounces. Ounce and a half of one, 2 ounces of the other, or ounce and a half of one, half ounce of the other. That's 1. That's 2. A little touch over on that one. Try this one. 1 and 2 ounces there. Ooh, a little touch over on that one as well. I shouldn't have put that extra splash in there. But, I'm going to clean this up. But make sure you can hit different marks with both hands, different amounts with both hands, and different amounts as you go down the line. The faster you can get, the more drinks you can make. That's what it's really all about. The first place I worked at in Florida that I talk about a lot of times, Nightclub and Bar Magazine Editor's Choice Top 100 every year. It's the top 100 grossing bar in the country. It's called AJ's Seafood and Oyster Bar. Their bars are all set up as a speed bar. By speed bar, I just mean this. It is literally as fast as you can put drinks in plastic cups and take people's money. It is all designed for speed. So they have their ice well. You have 2 rails connected to the ice well. On your right-hand side, you have 4 rails. They have 10 total wells in the whole building. All 10 wells are set up exactly the same. Gun on the left, 2 rails with the exact same liquors in, and the exact 4 lines of liquor to your right. To this day, I can tell you, second line down, 2 in is Cuervo, Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, Maker's Mark bottom all the way in, Crown top all the way in. Like, I can still picture where the bottles are so that I don't have to look at them. Doesn't matter what well I work at in the place. I never have to look. Everything's right there. That's a speed bar setup. It's meant to be like that. It's meant to be fast. Not all bars are set up like that. And, sometimes I think it's funny that people are unwilling to change the way they do things or kind of experiment with the way they do things. Something's always been kept in one place. People just always keep it there. It's always been kept there. It's always been done this way. It's always been done that way. And I think it's silly because times change, things change, what people order change. And just because something worked 10 years ago or 15 years ago does not mean it's going to work today, and does not mean it's the most efficient way to do it today. There's a little sort of story. I'm not sure if I've ever told this. There's a little story kind of goes along with what I'm just saying. There's a young girl. She's about 7 or 8 years old. She decides it's time for her to learn to cook, and she starts helping her mother in the kitchen and learning how to cook. Now, she goes to her mother one day because she's curious, and she asks her, Mom, how come you always cut the ends off the Sunday roast before you put it in the pan and you put it in the oven? And the mother says, well, dear, I cut the ends off the Sunday roast because that's what my mother did when she showed me how to cook when I was your age. Now, the girl's not really satisfied with that answer. She kind of, So she waits a couple Sundays and grandma comes over. She figures, okay, I'm going to get an answer now. She goes to her grandma, Grandma, how come you cut the ends off the Sunday roast before you put them in the pan to put them in the oven to cook the roast for Sunday dinner? And she says, well, dear, I do that because when I was your age and learning to cook, my mother did that as well. And that's how she showed me. Now she's just upset. She's not getting anywhere. Easter rolls around. Great grandma comes over. Now she thinks she's getting to the bottom of this. She goes and asks her, hey, great grandma, how come you always cut the ends off the Sunday roast before you put it in the oven to make the Sunday roast for Sunday dinner? She says, well, dear, I cut the ends off the Sunday roast because my mother cut the ends off the Sunday roast. Now the girl's steaming. She's not getting a good answer. She feels like she has to get to the bottom of this. So eventually Christmas rolls around. Great grandma shows up for Christmas dinner. And she asks great grandma, hey, great grandma, how come you cut the ends off the roast before you put it in the pan and put it in the oven to make Sunday dinner? She says, well, dear, when me and your great grandfather were just starting out, we were very poor and we lived in a tiny little apartment with a tiny little oven. And I could only fit in a pan this big and I couldn't put the roast in the pan, so I had to cut the ends off it. The point of the story is don't keep doing something because it's always been done that way. Find out why it's being done that way. And if it still works, fine. If it doesn't work, change it and do something different. Don't be afraid to change something. And if it doesn't work, fine, change it back. We can go back. But I think it's weird, how people stick to things when it can be more efficient and stuff can be sped up and done better, done more efficiently. I'll throw this other kind of pouring technique out there as well, which is jigger pouring. Two establishments. I can't hear. Someone's doing construction over there. I hope that's not coming in too loud. I know of two places in the country that use jiggers that are very, very good jobs. One is called the Desert Springs Marriott, is in Palm Desert, California. When I went to bartending school 22 years ago, they showed us a video from the Desert Springs Marriott, and a bartender showed you a trick. I'm going to show you right here as well. At that time, 22 years ago, they paid their bartenders $25 an hour plus tips. When you got the job, you were issued a jigger in a little velvet bag that said Desert Springs Marriott. And no matter what bar on the property you were assigned to, you were required to have your jigger on you and put every shot through the jigger. Another place where I've seen use jiggers is in the French Quarter on Bourbon Street. There's a place called Cat's Meow. Now, before every shift at Cat's Meow, the manager comes and he weighs all the bottles on a digital scale. And then after every shift, the manager comes back and he weighs all the bottles on a digital scale. So everything goes into the jigger. They do not lose a drop of liquor in that place. They know where it all goes. You have to pour the jigger really easy. I got my 1.5 ounce side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and dump it in the glass. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, dump it in the glass. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, dump it in the glass. Very simple, not too hard. I'm going to throw these out. But here's how they taught their bartenders to pour at the Desert Springs Marriott, and they taught them this way on purpose, and it's just a little trick. So I'm going to go to my 1 ounce side here, but I still want to put 1.5 ounces in each of these glasses. But I'm going to do it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So because I turned it over on the 4 count, it appeared that I over poured everybody and gave them a kind of hooked up special pour. But if I come back to my 1.5 ounce side, it's still 1.5 ounces on the dot. So their bartenders are taught to pour that way on purpose. Desert Springs Marriott is more than a hotel. Understand that. It's a hotel with a mall. It's a hotel with a nightclub. It has 4 or 5 different restaurants. It has a giant pool deck area. It has a river that comes into the lobby. You can get on a boat in the lobby and take a 1-hour river cruise around the property. It has 2, if not 3, 18-hole golf courses. And let's say a hotel room is not your speed. That's fine. Marriott will rent you a villa on the golf course, which is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house on the golf course. Anybody in my age range might also recognize it from a couple special episodes of Saved by the Bell. Yes, that's the place where they're playing golf and where they get on the boats. So throw that out there. Tells you how old I am. So it's a cool trick. You can do that. The big thing is to make sure that if you're going to do something like that, your boss is okay with it. They know you're still pouring the right amount. You're not hooking anybody up. That property does it on purpose because you spend a lot of money to stay on that property. And the second you're on that property, they want you to feel like you're getting something extra and you're being taken care of. It's all contrived. It's all thought out and kind of done that way specifically. So I'm going to put some of this stuff off to the side. And we'll talk a little bit just kind of about technique and mixing stuff up. If you're going to make a martini or anything in a stemmed cocktail glass, and the glass itself is not kept in a cooler and kept cold, we want to chill the glass out before we begin. It's a really easy thing to do. Fill it up with ice, and I usually fill it up with water. I did happen to notice that all the people at the World Class Bartender 2021 competition didn't bother to put water in the glass. I don't have water out here because I don't have a bar gun. So I'm just going to take this. I'm going to set it to the side. I'm going to let it sit there while I start working on my martini. Now, I don't have anything clear out here. I've colored it all. We're going to put dry vermouth in our martini. Dry vermouth doesn't take a lot of dry vermouth. It's kind of going the way of the dodo bird. A lot of people do not like a lot of dry vermouth anymore. The less dry vermouth you put into your martini, the drier it is. It sounds kind of weird. It sounds kind of counterintuitive, but the drier the martini, the less dry vermouth. So I think in the book it says ½ ounce of dry vermouth. That's way too much. It takes a little bit. It takes a splash. It takes a dribble. If I put my thumb over the pour spout, I can kind of control a little splash coming out. Boom. And it's just a little splash. And it's just a little trickle. If people ask for a dry martini from me, I'll grab my dry vermouth. I'll put a little in the mixing tin. A lot of times at this point, the person will look at me and say, "That's way too much. That's way too much." Give it a swirl, throw it out. Now all I've done is line the inside of this mixing tin with a little bit of dry vermouth. And that's as little as I can get in there. I mean, that's as really dry as I can get it. Now, if someone wants a really, 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 really super dry martini, I take my mixing tin, I take my dry vermouth, and I wave it over the mixing tin, and I put my dry vermouth away. And it's a little bit of a joke. Someone asks for something really, really dry. When they see you touch that vermouth bottle, their eyes are going to get very wide because they're going to want to see how much you're using. Give it a little wave, put it away, get a good chuckle out of them, have a little fun. So if this is my dry vermouth, we're just going to do a little splash in there. I'm going to mix it around, throw it out, give it a good shake, come back here and get my ice, and throw a little bit of ice here in my mixing tin. We're going to go to the green here. So I'm hoping I'm right on this because I've done this a bunch of times. I was just talking about how the standard pour is 1.5 ounces. In most places, in a lot of places predominantly, you'll find that martinis, Manhattans, old fashions are generally a double pour automatically, and that the place will charge more for it because it's a double pour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2.5 ounces in here. I'm going to do 1.5 ounces here on this side, 5, 6. And I'm going to come back here. I'm going to do my 1 ounce pour on this side. So I have 2.5 ounces in there, and that should be just the right amount for me to shake this guy up and make my martini here. Excuse me. So, if I was just going to stir it, that's why there's a butt on there. That's why a rubber thing. It's the end that's intended to go out in here and give it a good stir. If you use this end to stir it, still going to mix it up. Yes. And it's fine. I'm really surprised with the pros I watch and some of the guys I watch on TV. It's about 50-50. Some will use this end. Some will use this end. It's fine to use either one. The difference between stirring a drink and shaking a drink is just that we're not going to water it down as much when we stir it. So if I'm stirring it, I'm just bringing it down to 32 degrees. But if I go to shake it up, Now I'm going to end up crushing the ice up in here and putting a little sheet of ice on the top when I go ahead and pour it out. So I take my pint glass, I lock it in place. It doesn't come out. It's not going anywhere. It's locked in there. When I go to shake, I'm always coming back towards myself. Don't shake it at the bar. You get a little bit of remnants here that can splash, that can hit a customer. They're not going to like that. They're not going to be happy. Pop it in. I come back towards myself, and I'm going over my shoulder to shake. Now, I did see a lot of guys do a lot of different techniques and a lot of weird thing watching the championships. Take it over shoulder, give it a good shake. Now, in all honesty, after about 3 shakes, I'm not getting this any colder. I can only get the liquid in here to 32 degrees. But the more I shake it, the more effort I put into it, the more it's going to crush the ice up in there, and you're going to have more broken ice on the top of the drink. Here's the deal. If this drink is going to a table in the restaurant and the person can't see me, shake it up, put it in the glass, send it out there. You know, putting on a little extra show doesn't do much for someone that's not there and can't see you. If the person's in front of me, though, I'm going to give it a little more effort. I'm going to put a good show on. The trick is, while you're doing it, you know, they say while you're shaking, smile. It's not really so much about smiling, about being engaged. While I'm shaking this drink, my head is up. I can talk to the people in front of me. I can look down the bar over there. Folks, I'll be right with you. I can look down that way. I'll be right with you, folks, as soon as I'm done with this drink. You know, just acknowledging that you see people at the bar goes a long way. If people feel like they're being ignored, they will flip out. I recognized you. Obviously, I have something in both hands. Not much I can do, you know. So keep your head up. Keep looking around. Remain engaged. You will get this guy. This guy does come around. You know, I'm waiting on 2 people here. I've got 2 people here. I've got 2 people here. From the end of the bar, you hear one guy go, "Can I get a vodka tonic?" Easy way to handle that guy. Easy way to take care of him. Just look at him. Yeah, I'll be happy to get that for you. First, I'm going to finish with these people. Then I'm going to help those people. Then I'm going to help those people. All that does is turn the attention back to him. And all those other people waiting will look at him like, "Hey, do you think you're better than us? Why are you cutting the line?" So be super nice. Don't freak out on that person. Just say that to them. They'll turn and see the other employees and they'll shut up. It stops them dead in their tracks every time. So I've given it a good shake. I'm smiling. I put some effort into it. I'm going to come back, take the palm of my hand, unlock it, and this pops out. Now, it happened to me a couple of weeks ago. Have I ever stood there for way too long doing this? I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. Yes. Just keep working it around. Eventually, you'll find that right spot, that magic spot to release it. Don't hit it on the bar, please. There's a good chance you break this glass into this drink, or even worse, you break the glass down into your ice well, and then that ice is dead. Now you got to burn that whole well out and start over. So shake it, use your palm, pop it out, let it drip. Nice like that. Take my ice, I'm going to throw it out to the side. Shake a little of that water out. And I've got this pretty watered down too, so I hope it's not too much. Got my screen in, got my first finger holding the screen in place. I'm going to pour it out nice and easy. I'm going to let it drip, 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 drip. And now if I give it just a little shimmy, a little more is going to come out. Every single time. All you're doing is jostling up the ice in there, moving it around, getting the last bits of drops out of there. Once again, if someone's at the table, they can't see me do that, it does me no good. But if the person's sitting right in front of me and they see me get that extra little bit out for them, they're going to be super happy. A big smile is going to come across their face. You know, it looks like I did everything, but try to wring this out like a wet towel, you know, to get all the liquor, get all the drinks out for them. There's a nice little bit of ice here on top. I'm not really making anything, so I'm just going to throw a garnish on it to make it look cool. There we go. Put a little lime on there, set it to the side. That is our fake martini, done with our little shaking techniques. Now, what I do want to make, where are we at time-wise? Okay, we're pretty good. So what I am going to try to make for real here today, because I made something last week and it did not go well. So, not afraid to try stuff for the first time in front of you guys and fail. Doesn't seem to bother me. But I tried a type of liqueur I had never actually tried before. and it was foul. It was one of the most awful things I think I've ever tasted in my life. So if anybody's familiar with the 99 brand of schnapps, they make like 99 bananas, 99 this, 99 that. They're all 99 proof, 44.5% alcohol. The blue raspberry is probably one of the foulest liquors I've ever come across in my entire life. It was horrible. It was disgusting. So I'm just going to throw that out there. So I'm going to make here something that I know I can make and not screw up and not be disgusting. They mention a recipe for Bloody Marys in the book, which is kind of a handcrafted, a done by hand recipe. What's going to happen in most places is you're either going to have a bottle of pre-made mix, something like Zing Zang is very popular in the country right now, or you're going to have a house mix that's still pre-made. So all you're really doing is putting the vodka in the cup and the mix in the cup as well. You're probably not going to put all the spices and everything in there to order for every Bloody Mary unless you were specifically working in a place that called for handcrafted cocktails. But, where I live here in California, everybody makes their own Bloody Mary mix. It would be, people would kind of freak out if they saw Zing Zang, like they'd be offended. You don't make your own Bloody Mary mix? Ooh, never mind, I'll just have the mimosa. But I've made them for several places. I know what's in most of them and kind of what different places here do as far as different nuances and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and just make one from scratch here and try it out a little bit. I'm going to grab my ice, and we always use the biggest glass we have for Bloody Marys Long Island. Two things that always go in the biggest glass available. So I'm going to go ahead, always fill it up to the top with ice, all the way to the top with ice when we're making any kinds of drinks. And I'm going to go ahead and put my vodka in here now and let my vodka start cooling off. So I've got some Tito's fine Texas vodka here. I'm going to go ahead and do my 1.5 ounces of Tito's in there on top and let it sit there like that. Now, how am I going to spice this up? So, first things first, we're going to do a little bit of fresh lime juice and a little bit of lime squeezed in there, and I'm going to put a little more. So I've got some fresh lime juice in there. I'm also going to take this lemon that I have from gutting and making lemon twist earlier today, and I'm just going to squeeze a little bit of fresh lemon juice in there as well. I'm not going to squeeze the whole thing down because I don't want too much. So I've got my lemon juice, lime juice in there now. All right. I'm going to go ahead and put a little dash of pepper in there. I'm also going to take some salt and put a little pinch of kosher salt in there, like that. I have some celery salt over here. I'm going to take a pinch of that. I'm going to put that in there as well. Now, a lot of the places I worked for here would also put olive juice in there. I don't like olives, so I'm intentionally staying away from the olive juice. I'm going to put a little Worcestershire in there. And some places also put some A51 or A51, A1 or Heinz 57 sauce in there. Not uncommon to do that as well. I come over here, I'm going to do a little bit of fresh horseradish. So there's a little trick to getting just a little bit of horseradish. If I take a spoon like this, I can get just a little bit on the end of the spoon. If I take a straw like this, I can get just a little bit on the end of the straw and put it in there. I'm going to do a little more and make it a little spicy and put it in there so that I have a little bit of horseradish giving some spice in there as well. Then, of course, we got to go with some sort of hot sauce. This is Tapatio. This is made here in California. This is what we use as hot sauce in California. So we're going to go a little bit of Tapatio there. And then I'm going to top it off with just regular tomato juice. Shake it up a little more. Now, what you can probably notice and kind of see is that the tomato juice kind of sits on top and you kind of have vodka on the bottom. It really sucks. When you are not feeling great and you go to a place and you order a Bloody Mary and they give you a glass with vodka to here, mix up to here, and a straw straight down to the vodka. because that first shot of cold vodka is going to make what's already a rough morning much, much rougher. So we can give this a little mix. Couple things, though, that we never shake. We don't shake anything with tomato juice. It will make it froth up. At the same time, anything with cream. In the bar, we use half and half. That's our cream. You shake that up, it froths up. You won't be able to get it back into the same drink. And it looks like I have some little flies enjoying that fake cocktail. So you don't want to do it with that. We also don't want to shake anything that's carbonated. It's going to fizz up, number one. Number two, you're going to take the bubbles out of it. When you fizz it up and you make it do that, you're taking the carbonation back out of the drink. So I can still mix this, though, because I want to get everything mixed up and I want to get all my ingredients going in there. By doing what the book refers to as a toss or a roll, I'm just going to pour it into my mixing tin and pour it back over. That's all it really takes to give it a good mix in most places if you have all the ingredients in there. Since I know I have pieces of horseradish and other stuff, I'm going to give it a couple more. Nice like that. So there, I have a nice good mix. Now, Bloody Mary can muck up your mixing tin pretty good. So, if I work at a place, like for instance, the Madonna Inn, which I talk about here, each well's got 10 mixing tins, 10 pint glasses. I assign one, if I'm there on a Sunday morning, I assign one for the day for Bloody Marys. I leave it there. I put Bloody Marys in it, nothing else. Every so often I throw it through the dishwasher, clean it up. If I have plastic cups available, I just set a plastic cup there. That's the Bloody Mary plastic cup for the day. If it starts to get nasty, it starts to get dirty, I throw it away, I grab another one. It's not uncommon for some places to put stuff on the rim, salt or celery salt like I'm going to do here. That's fine. Even though I've mixed it, I can still come back, let it go into my mixing tin, take a little piece of lime like this. And this is kind of a trick I used in banquets a lot. You don't have to have a salt ring necessarily to rim something. And, if you've got sugar, you've got salt in your salt ring, and you're trying to do something else and put another different kind of rim on there, you don't have any room for anything else on your salt ring anyway. Take a nice little appetizer plate or bread plate like that. I'm going to take a lime. I'm going to go all the way around the rim here. Bam. Now I've rimmed my glass just like that. I'm going to pour my Bloody Mary back in there. I'm going to go ahead and garnish it with a little piece of lime. Sure, I've got a little piece of lemon here too. I'm going to throw a straw in there. Once again, I don't like olives, so I'm leaving the olives out. But, celery, pickles, green beans, okra. I've seen shrimp. I've seen crawfish. Jimmy Brooks, the Madonna Inn, actually makes one now with bacon, lettuce, and tomato in it. So it's like a little breakfast BLT for those that are hungover. Some places will come back, throw a little pepper on top there to give it a little more spice. Like I said, the Madonna Inn does theirs automatically with just a regular salt rim and not the celery salt rim. So it really just depends on the establishment or what people want. A lot of people will ask for, either the salt rim or celery salt rim or other stuff like that in their Bloody Marys. So once again, you're generally going to have the mix, but make sure you're giving it that little toss, you're giving it that little roll so that you get the vodka mixed in, with the tomato juice and all the other ingredients. It'll make a much better drink that way. So that is what I have to talk about today. Does anybody have any questions about anything I talked about today or anything else? We'll give this a taste. It's actually pretty good. That's very, very good. All right. If we don't have any questions, then I'm going to say thank you to everybody for coming and watching Wednesday's lesson. I believe next week I am going to be in Los Angeles, so it's going to be a little bit different. But I have a setup for where I'm going there, so I'll still be able to kind of do what I do here. And trying to think of something kind of LA themed. I know I talked about the Matt shot, the LA freeway today, but that's not really an LA themed shot, drink or anything you want to be giving anybody. So I'm going to kind of come up with something Hollywood or something trendy or something that says LA for next week and come to you live from Los Angeles. So thank you everybody for tuning in today. I hope you all enjoyed and learned something today. And if there are no more questions, I'm going to sign out for the day and I will see you all next week. Thank you very much.